Un caro saluto a tutti, sono Renzo Cresti, presidente del concorso internazionale dedicato al nuovo strumento
A
musicale
warm greeting to
bercandeon,
all. I am
organizzato
Renzo Cresti,
dall'Associazione Parco del
President of the
Cinquedì.
international
Lo
competition
strumento
dedicated to the new
musicale
musical
è stato
instrument
ideato
bercandeon,
da Fiorenzo
organized by the
Berlusconi in
Association
collaborazione
Parco
con
della
Stefano
Cinquevet.
Caniato. Il primo prototipo
The
risale al
musical instrument was
2011
conceived
e
by
poi grazie
Fiorenzo Bernasconi in
all'impegno
collaboration with
di
Stefano
molti
Caniato.
fisarmonicisti, quale Marco
The
Zappa
first
e poi
prototype dates back
successivamente
to
Davide
2011
Bonetti, che ha
and then
scritto
thanks to
anche
the efforts
un
of many
metodo
musicians such as
per
Marco
suonare
Zappa and then
questo
later Davide
strumento,
Bonetti,
Rossano
who
Baldini,
also wrote a
Stefano
method to play
Cagnato,
this new
che fanno
instrument,
parte della
Rossano
giuria
Baldini,
del concorso
Stefano
insieme a
Caniato,
Riccardo
who are
Battisti,
part of the
Vittorio
jury of the
Gianico,
competition together with
Vito
Riccardo
Maniscalco e
Battisti,
Peter Zem.
Vittorio Gianico,
Il
Vito
concorso
Maniscalco and Peter
ha avuto
Zem.
un grandissimo seguito, sono pervenuti
The competition has
sbanditi
been a
da ogni
great
parte
success.
del mondo.
Scores were received from
Abbiamo
all over the world.
selezionato 15 finalisti e
We have selected
da questi
15
15
finalists,
finalisti
and from these finalists, the first
saranno
three plus a young person will be
premiati.
awarded
I
to encourage a
primi
new
tre
literature for the
più
Burkandian.
anche un giovane per incentivare appunto una nuova letteratura per il bercandio.
The park was born from the idea of enhancing the territory both from the point of view of tourism and the environment. In addition to enhancement, the park tries to develop a territory that over time unfortunately has become a bit depressed. It was conceived with the help of the municipal administration, the mountain community and the various associations in the area, both sports and nature. There are about 156 kilometers of trails, of which 7 are marked for mountain biking and 5 for trekking. We hope that the development will lead to new paths and new ideas, always for the pleasure of those who come to visit us in these territories that, however, both in terms of landscape and tourism are wonderful.
La differenza principale tra il bercanio e la fisarmonica è che questo
The main
strumento
difference between the accordion and the bercandion is that this instrument has a symmetry compared to the accordion, which consists of a keyboard and a bass part.
due tastiere e quindi la difficoltà maggiore è stata proprio rendere lo strumento suonabile a chi poi
In this
magari
case,
non
you can see
suona
the two
in
keyboards.
modo
The
decente
biggest
e
difficulty was
funzionale,
to make the
quindi
instrument
direzione
playable in
giusta
a
e
functional way,
la
studying
possibilità
the
di
right
avere
inclination and
l'intera base
functionality of the
musicale dello
keyboard.
strumento. La differenza principale tra lo strumento fisarmonica
This is perhaps the most
e lo
complicated
strumento
thing about the
bercanio
instrument. The
è
main differences
relativamente
between the
poca, nel
accordion
senso
and the
che
bercandion
i
are
due
few,
sono
in the
strumenti
sense
organi
that
con
both are free
armonia.
reed arrow
Le
instruments.
differenze più grosse sono dovute dalla forma dello strumento e dal modo di poterlo suonare, quindi abbiamo un
The strongest
mancino
differences are due to the
diverso
shape of the
con
instrument
una
and the
parte
way it is
centrale
played. In the
che
bercandion we have a completely
dove
different
ha
bellows with a central
possibilità di
frame that has the
muoversi
possibility to put a
una
shoulder strap
corda
to
per
keep
tenere
it balanced.
bilanciato, abbiamo rispetto alla fisarmonica dove ha degli spallacci
It
e
lacks
un
shoulder
manale
straps
per
and
aiutare
manali
la
that are used to
chiusura.
open
In
and
questo
close the
caso
bellows
qui
of the
abbiamo
accordion.
vi faccio vedere, ci
In this case we have two supports for the instrument that is operated with the legs and not with the classic movement of the arm. Above there are two straps to keep the manticine closed and facilitate the opening of the
dello
legs.
strumento dalla parte superiore e quindi per poterlo
Having said
assicurare
this, the
nell'apertura
bercandeon at a sonic level is similar to the accordion because both have a bellows where air is sucked that makes the reeds play, which are exactly the
della
same.
fisarmonica perché entrambi hanno un mantice dove viene aspirata aria e fanno suonare delle ance che sono esattamente quelle delle fisarmoniche.
Cari amici musicisti, buongiorno.
Dear musicians, good morning. I am Fiorenzo Bernasconi, co-inventor of the bercandeon. Some months ago I received the first pieces for the competition The Magic Mountain. I appreciated the quality, the number and the varied geographical origin. But at the same time a worry emerged. The announcement foresaw to award only 4 works, risking to leave absolutely unknown the work of all the other authors.
Il lavoro di tutti gli altri autori. Ho allora pensato che avrei potuto realizzare
I then thought that I could create an anthology of scores, gathered in a volume of the editorial series that I have recently created. Of course, I had to make a selection because the pieces were so numerous that they could not all fit in one volume. However, I believe that the anthology will be able to document the competition in its variety, in terms of geographical origin, age of the competitors, interpretive ideas, styles, and the ensembles involved.
I brani, scritti da uomini e donne,
The pieces written by men and women form a sort of large collective suite dedicated to Thomas Mann's novel. In addition to containing the scores, the book will provide brief biographical data on the authors, and for each one an explanation of the artistic choices. There will also be a final chapter dedicated to the bercandeon, in which we will try to better define its functioning, extension and characteristics.
l'estensione e le caratteristiche. Bisogna infatti pensare che
In fact, it must be considered that composers have made a considerable effort because they have written for an instrument known only on paper, in theory, without the possibility to verify instrumentally the outcome of the composition. Some have ideally accelerated, imagining an instrument without executive limits. Others have prudently slowed down.
immaginando uno strumento senza limiti esecutivi.
Some pieces cannot be played as they are with the bercandeon. They need small corrections, but this is also a beautiful testimony of the difficulty of the task.
Di piccole correzioni, ma anche questa è una bella testimonianza della difficoltà del compito.
I sincerely thank all the musicians involved and especially those who have granted the inclusion of their piece in this first anthology for bercandeon.
Brano in questa prima antologia per bercandeon. Tra un attimo ascolteremo i brani vincitori.
We'll be able to hear the winning tracks in a moment. The COVID emergency prevented the organization of the live award ceremony in the Park of the Five Peaks.
I brani sono stati registrati dai musicisti nei loro personali.
The audio recordings were made in Mantova, Brescia and Rome in the musicians' studios.
D'altro canto ho realizzato alcuni video.
In some cases I made videos in the park or nearby, following the themes of water, earth and air, dear to the pre-Socratics.
Dell'aria e della terra, elementi cari alla
And now, enjoy listening.
Ed ora non ci resta che dire buon ascolto.
Il brano di Prixens
Brixen's piece is minimalist, but suggestively cantabile and quite intense. with the initial section, then resumed in the finale, of a rather declamatory character followed by an episode in odd meter. It plays on repetition and contrast to invite us to dissolve the traditional concept of time and habits. The playability with the bercandeon is also good. I would say that this is a very promising test of a talented young man.
Di un giovane talentuoso.
First of all, I would like to thank the jury for the recognition and for the chance to take part in this competition. Well, this contest made me realize some important things about music. Before the piece for bercandeon, I had never written anything for free reeds, because, well, I just didn't know what to write. As any composer will tell you, the opportunities in music are endless, and one could never explore every possibility. Even if one had a millennium to study only one instrument, they still wouldn't have the opportunity to understand every stunning combination of sounds that instrument can make. However, it is important to experiment with new ideas. And the bercandeon is a beautiful instrument, and in part that beauty stems from its novelty. There is a world of vibrant music that could be written for it. And the composers in this competition have really explored just the tip of the iceberg. Speaking of bergs, of mountains, music's important in Thomas Mann's novel as well. Because literature and music, in fact, have been walking hand in hand since the times of ancient Greece. Music has served as an accompaniment to poems, epics, and all the other stories told in song and dance. Sometimes the art of word becomes an appendix to a musical expression. Sometimes music depicts the emotions of a literary text, like the compositions we hear today. In these works, we find out how their composers feel about the Magic Mountain. In the Magic Mountain, every major character has the chance to express their opinion about music. And it is shared in numerous different ways by different characters, but every time Mann concludes that music has the power to change, manipulate, morph the human spirit. Although I do support aestheticism, to my mind, art, and music especially, has always been about the beauty of its spirit, its energy, its soul, if you will. And I hope that everyone who was a part of this journey, this competition, understood the soul of their music a little bit better.
Me pareció muy interesante la concepción de este instrumento, ya
I
que
found
aumenta
the
las
idea of
posibilidades
the
armónicas.
instrument increasing harmonic and contrapuntal possibilities compared to the traditional accordion very interesting. For this reason I thought of writing a work that would contain these possibilities. I also found the proposal of the competition to write a musical work freely inspired by Thomas Mann's novel The Magic Mountain very interesting. In this novel one of the main themes is time, and in various moments music and musical time are present. There is chronological time or musical time as it is called in the novel, which can be calculated in minutes and seconds. But there is also another time that is mainly related to a subjective perception. This is very present in music because time is essential material in writing, and composers can manipulate it by making it appear that its real duration is different from its perceived duration. For the piece written for the competition I decided to use a chapter from the novel where the main character falls asleep in the middle of a snowstorm and has a dream with pleasant and terrible apparitions. When he wakes up he realizes that he has slept very little, even though his dreams seem to have lasted a long time, due to the many situations he experienced. This often happens to us when we dream and also when we
Esto es
listen
algo
to
que nos sucede
music.
muy a menudo cuando soñamos y también cuando escuchamos música.
Una delle cose che mi hanno
One of the
impressionato
things that impressed me in Marilena Licata's piece was the great correspondence between the descriptive intention and the actual musical success. Starting the work of evaluating the pieces of the competition, I chose to begin my analysis from the score, to then move on to listening to the audio file, and only at the end to read the motivations declared by the authors. Naturally, the title dedicated to Madame Chauchat immediately evoked the sensations provoked in the protagonist by this woman with her somewhat exotic charm, who will be for him the discovery of a female universe rich in sensuality, in a game of seduction made of illusions and expectations. Reading Marilena Licata's intentions, I realized with pleasure that her piece, upon reading and listening, had already suggested me much of what she wanted to communicate. The habanera rhythm brings us back to Carmen, a great model, in this sense, and it is not by chance that it is mentioned in the book among the listenings of the guests of the sanatorium. Graceful dissonances, besides making the musical discourse vital, perfectly suggest the erotic tension between the two protagonists. I would add that, probably, only a wise female hand could render these elements so well.
così bene questi elementi.
Il mio lavoro si intitola Madame Chauchat e si ispira al personaggio femminile principale della vicenda.
My work is
Claudia
entitled Madame Chauchat and is inspired by the main female character of the novel, Claudia Chauchat. She is a mysterious Russian lady with Oriental features, with whom the protagonist Castor falls in love from the very beginning. It will be the love for Claudia that will allow Castor to know much more about himself and his inner world. Claudia is a dynamic, sensual, ironic woman who lives outside of social conventions. So this suggested me to realize a parallelism with Bizet's famous Carmen, a parallelism that I realized by recalling the rhythms of the typical habanera. And so they represent vitality, a certain bodily movement. The central section, on the other hand, is more languid because it attempts to describe the dreamy character of the love between the two, a love that is based above all on glances, gestures and unspoken words. Through the expedient of chromaticism, which by its nature is dynamic and above all tense, I tried to recall the attraction between the two and Claudia's sensuality.
Attraverso inoltre l'espediente del cromatismo, che per sua natura è dinamico.
Writing for this instrument has been a great compositional stimulus and an effort to imagine new sonorities, with an inner ear, because in fact it is an instrument that I know only on paper, so together with you listeners I will feel the sonic outcome.
È uno sforzo ad immaginare nuove sonorità.
In any case, the aspect I appreciated the most is the presence of the double bellows, which allows to diversify the dynamics between the two keyboards and therefore also the articulations. Moreover, I had fun experimenting with registers, so from a timbral point of view I marked on the score the registers that I considered most appropriate, and in some cases, however, I left the performer the possibility and freedom to choose between two registers indicated by me. I thank the jury once again. I wish you all a good listening. It will be a great emotion for me to listen together with you to my piece finally take sound form.
Ringrazio ancora una volta la giuria, auguro un buon ascolto a tutti, sarà una grande emozione per me ascoltare insieme a voi il mio brano, prendere finalmente forma sonora.
Non è stato facile indicare i tre vincitori perché i brani che sono pervenuti
It was
sono
not
stati
easy
molto
to indicate
apprezzati
the
dalla
three
giuria
winners,
e in
because
gran
the scores
parte
that were
sono
received were highly
composizioni di
appreciated by the
buona
jury and
qualità.
most of them are
In ogni
compositions of
caso, la
good quality.
giuria ha espresso parere unanime sul vincitore, che è il portoghese
The jury
De
expressed its
Souza
unanimous
Batista,
opinion on the
con il
winner, who
brano
is the
Subindo a
Portuguese de Sousa
Montanha
Batista with the
per
work
due
Salado La Montanha
bercandeon.
for two
Il brano è un
bercandeons.
brano piuttosto lungo, assai
The piece is
articolato,
quite
con
long, very
un'interessante
articulated, with an
riflessione
interesting
sul
reflection
tempo
on the musical
musicale,
time,
con
with
precisi
precise
riferimenti
references
anche al
also
tempo
inside
dello
the score,
spartito,
to
al
Thomas
romanzo di
Mann's
Thomas
novel,
Mann,
The
La
Magic Mountain,
montagna
and an excellent
incantata,
combination
un
between the
ottimo
two
abbinamento
instruments,
fra
a
i due
good use of the
strumenti
voice and
e
also of
anche
rhythmic noises.
buono l'utilizzo della voce e anche dei rumori
For these
ritmici.
qualities and for
Per
the
questa
excellent
qualità e
adaptability
anche
of the
per
writing to the
l'ottima
instrument, the jury
adattabilità
decided to award the first
della
prize to De
scrittura
Souza
allo
Batista.
strumento, la giuria ha deciso di assegnare il primo premio a De Souza Batista.
È stato un onore ed una
It was
sfida.
an honor and a challenge to perform the winning piece of the International Composition Competition for bercandeon. It's a piece that pushes the instrument to its limits, while trying never to exceed them. In Subindo a Montana, I like the continuous changes of meter, the use of dissonances, the thematic references and the recited text that intersects with the music. So congratulations to the winner.
Complimenti quindi al vincitore.
Ciao a tutti. La mia lingua madre è il portoghese, ma oggi cercherò di parlare in inglese affinché tutti possano capire. So, I'm always looking for challenges that might add something new and natural to my music, and I was just finishing a commissioned work for accordion when I knew about the international composition competition for bercandeon, and I thought of this as a great opportunity to get some kind of continuity and at the same time step out of my comfort zone. And so I spent some time resting my thoughts on the piece, studying the bercandeon, trying to understand this unique instrument with unique features on a deeper level, while also focusing on getting to know more about Thomas Mann and the Magic Mountain. And then I just let the project to rest, not knowing if I was actually going to conceive it one day. But as I took all this pressure out of this initial creative process, the ideas just started to flow naturally, and I felt naturally compelled to put my hands to work. As a composer, I'm usually very careful and selective in choosing which projects to work on because time is very limited, and in order to avoid any kind of burnout, I try to only create music that I'm really inclined to. And so one of the main features in my working method is to have a lot of possibilities, but then I just work on those that I feel naturally inclined to create. Subindo a montanha is a Portuguese sentence which means climbing up the mountain, and it was inspired by several ideas present in the novel The Magic Mountain, such as the subjective character of time, the revival through change, while exploring the concept of future and the mutation of the same character a long time. But above all, Thomas Mann was an artist very descriptive of the time he lived in, and that also inspired me to write a piece about the present zeitgeist. I feel that as humans, we're still in an embryonic phase of multiplanetary civilization that eventually will colonize the galaxy. And as a species and individuals, we're still climbing the mountain at this point of time. Also, it is a common trait of all my recent work to include some kind of spoken ideas alongside the instrumental parts, and the text used in this piece is an variation of a poem I wrote not long time ago, and I felt that it had the perfect fit for this theme. Last but not least, I would like to congratulate all the involved in the organization of this amazing event that brought this fantastic new instrument to an international stage and to the minds of many composers and people from all around the world.
In avanti, in avanti, in avanti, in avanti, in avanti, in avanti, trepando em frente, em diante, subindo a montanha mágica, em diante, subindo a montanha mágica. Não vai parar o tempo, ele sempre corre em frente. É uma linha, não um círculo. É uma linha de ciclos. O início é o fim do início anterior, o fim é o início do próximo fim, o fim é o anterior do próximo início. Não vai parar o tempo, ele sempre corre em frente. É uma linha, não um círculo. É uma linha de ciclos. em diante, subindo a montanha mágica. Não vai parar o tempo. Ele sempre corre em frente. É uma linha, não é um círculo. É uma linha de ciclos. O início é o fim do início anterior. O fim é o início do próximo fim. O fim é o anterior do próximo início.
Em diante, subindo a montanha mágica. Não vai parar o tempo. Ele sempre corre em frente. É uma linha, não é um círculo. É uma linha de ciclos.
Subindo. Subindo. Em frente. In avanti, in avanti, in avanti, in avanti. In avanti.